Welcome.
To On Solid Ground.
I'm Father Brandon.
And I'm Anna McCarty.
Here we are.
And we are going to talk more about morality. We love having you guys think about what is morality, but also we want to kind of clarify and teach what the church teaches about morality.
Exactly.
Because we want you to be deep thinking, but we want to also be leading you.
Yeah, it's also been helpful for us.
We've been talking about this for a while, and I feel like I kind of understand it.
Exactly.
I mean, hopefully.
So good. So in
here goes.
our last video, we talked about morality as clinging to the very person of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that's where we got to start, and it's a great start.
Mm-hmm.
But it can go on a little bit more from there.
Right. Okay. So, morality. Morality is following Jesus Christ to get to God, because we recognize that when we die, being in heaven with God is our end. That's where we are ordered. Okay. So if we're following Christ, we recognize that there are things that help us to follow Christ and things that help us to not follow Christ. That would be something that is immoral, something moral, or something immoral. So something that leads you to Christ is something that's moral. Something that leads you away from Christ is immoral. Now, when you're looking at that, you might be like, is this leading me to Christ? I don't really know. But there are three, what's the word for it?
Three
things that make something
Three criteria.
moral. Three criteria to figure out, is this moral? Is this immoral?
To help us evaluate our actions and even other people's actions.
Right.
To know whether or not we're going down the right path that's going to lead us towards Christ or not. Because sometimes it's not always clear. And God gave us our intellect to use for that reason. And so the first criteria for evaluating a moral action is the object. It's literally the thing that's done. All right, so you can think of, like, let's say, praying, stealing, giving money to somebody who needs it, murder. So some crazy examples.
Maybe
right?
you guys can see which one is good and which one's bad.
You understand? Like, they're like the concrete action, like literally what's happening, what's being done. Okay.
So that is, object. That's the object. That's the action. Now, next from the object, there are also, intention. Okay. So you're doing this object, but why are you doing that action? So why are you praying? Is it to give glory and honor to God, or is it for, some selfish reasons? You could be praying because it makes you feel good, which is actually probably a good thing. But if that's the only reason you're doing it, maybe not. Murder. Why are you murdering? There is an intention behind that. Why are you stealing? Why are you giving money? Like, why inside, like, really look inside yourself and ask yourself, like, what is the reason behind that? Is it for not so good reasons, like worldly reasons, or is it because you're doing this to give honor and glory to God? So that would be the second criteria, is your intention. What is your interior, like, what is deep in your heart?
Yeah.
Why are you doing these things?
Yeah, so if object answers the question, what am I doing? The intention answers the question, why am I doing it? And the third criteria is the circumstances. And that answers everything else, the how, the where, the when, etc. So sometimes intention and circumstances can be a bit confusing, but just to remember that intention is what's inside of you. It's that interior reason, but circumstances are things that are outside of you. And so let's go back to the prayer example. Like, you're praying, but there's a lot of people around, so maybe it would be better to pray somewhere else, or somewhere else where it might be a little bit more private, so people won't see you. Even if that's not your intention, the circumstances can kind of change how we do things. Or the how. So the how you pray. So maybe you go to the chapel and you're wailing out loud and tearing your clothes. That's maybe not the most
so good.
Prayerful way for everybody else.
Actually, the Bible speaks about that.
Yes. But if there's lots of other people in church, maybe not the best thing to do, because it'll draw attention to yourself, even if you don't want it to.
And even like acts of service, like, like corporal works of mercy, are you doing that because you want to be Christ to these people and you want to show them love, or do you want recognition? And that doesn't necessarily, it is still a moral act, but it can diminish that moral act.
Exactly. Yeah. So the intention and the circumstance can never make a bad action good. Like, the ends never justify the means. Like, to say, like, I murdered this person, but they had to. I had to do it. That doesn't work,
it's always
right?
Immoral, yeah.
But it can detract from the goodness of an action. And it can make a good action bad. So you gotta be careful.
So what is your intention? What is in your heart? And what are you doing that leads you to Christ? Because that is morality. That is going to lead you to true freedom and to heaven.
That's the ultimate question. God bless.
Bye.
Toodles.